So let's continue with our lesson 3 part 2. So in the last part we saw that how new parliamentary laws were being introduced for the better and smooth administration of the East India Company. Now with the emergences of the British rule in India, a new administrative system got developed in India. Now which was this new administrative system? This new administrative system, that is to run the government with smooth function, this government was set up on 4 important pillars or the 4 important supports. Now which were these 4 important pillars or the 4 important support? First, the civil service. Second is the military. Third is the police force. And fourth is the judicial system. Now let us study how these 4 important pillars of the British administration in India brought about changes in the smooth functioning of the administration system. So let's begin with our first important pillar, and that is nothing but the civil service. Now what is civil service? Civil services is independent of government and composed mainly of career bureaucrats hired on professional merits rather than appointed or elected. Now what do you mean by bureaucrats? Bureaucrats means officers in an organization or the government department, special officers who are specially appointed to look after only the working of that particular system. So civil services was very important during that time. Now why? So to strengthen the British rule in India, there was a need of bureaucrats. Lord Cornwallis introduced bureaucracy. Civil services became an important part of British government. He restricted the private trade carried out by the company officers, and for this purpose he increased their salary. For the convenience of administration, he divided the British occupied territories into districts. The district collector was the chief of British administration. He was responsible for collection of revenue, giving justice, maintaining law and order. The officers were appointed through competitive examination known as Indian Civil Services, that is ICS. Okay, so Lord Cornwallis, who became the important officer who introduced this bureaucracy or bureaucrat. Now what was this? It became an important part because civil service became an important part of British government. Over here, Lord Cornwallis, he was appointed the officer to look after this special department of civil service. Here in civil service, the first thing what he did is those people who were appointed to look with the company's affair, he restricted that they will only work for the British government. They will not work for any other private company or any other private firm. And not only that, to keep these workers, to keep this civil servant in British East India Company, what did Lord Cornwallis did? He increased their salary so that they will not go to any other firm. Not only that, for the convenience of the administration, because the Britishers had spread far and wide in all the provinces of India, right? So for the better administration, what Lord Cornwallis did? He divided the British occupied territories, means wherever British had set up their colonies, he divided those colonies into different territories, that is small districts, so that every district will have one collector, one district collector or one officer appointed who will be responsible for handling all the work, and he will be responsible for reporting to Lord Cornwallis. Now the district collector was the chief of the district administration. What was his responsibilities? His responsibility was of collecting revenue, giving justice and maintaining law and order in that particular district. So as you can see, the part of India where small they were divided into small territories, small district, and in every district one district collector was appointed. Now these were all government job. Today also we have government job. Railways we have government job. Air India is a government job. BMC, Mumbai Municipal Mahanagarpalika is a government job. Okay, not only that, but the other government jobs which are there, where civil servant workers are there. Okay, collectors are there, district collectors are there, what do you call them? Other people who are related with that. Now they have to give a particular exam. Today also these are exam. To become an IPS officer in police, you have to give the IPS exam. Similarly, those who are there in Indian services, they had to go through a special examination, and that examination, that competitive examination, is called as the ICS, or the Indian Civil Service. The second important pillar of the British East India Company was the military force and the police force. Now, what was the duty of the military force and the police force? The military force has to safeguard the boundaries, okay, the boundaries of the Indian region, and the police force had to maintain the law and order inside the boundary. Just today we have our Indian soldiers who are safeguarding our Indian borders from north, south, as well as from east and west, right? They are guarding us so that we are being safe inside. And similarly, our police force who are there, who is taking care of maintaining all the law and order inside the boundaries of that particular region. So the duty of military was to safeguard the British occupied region in India and acquire new territories and break down any revolt against British in India, and to maintain law and order in the country was the duty of the police force. The third important pillar was the judicial system. Now, what was the judicial system? The British established a new judicial system in India on the basis of judicial system in England. Every district had a civil and a criminal court to solve the local cases. For reconsideration of their judgment, a high court was established. So what did the British do? Because during that time in India, courts were not there. It was been ruled by the kings and maharajas, and in villages and all, panchayats were there. So whatever disputes were been there, they were been sorted out among themselves. But the Britishers brought their laws. So as the laws were there in England, similarly they brought some of these laws for the better administration in India also. So courts were been appointed. Civil courts were there and criminal courts were there. Civil courts were those courts where all the domestic related arguments or things like where small thief or robbery was been done, or there is fight between two families, or fight between neighbors relating with land and all. Such civil cases, domestic cases were looked after civil court. And criminal courts were for those people where we had big robberies were being taken place, or killing somebody was taken place, or doing a crime on a very higher level. So those cases were being taken to the criminal court. So, and if any of the cases regarding civil court or criminal court, if the case which has been brought in front of this court, and if the court is not been able to give them a proper judgment, then there was a full freedom for that particular person that he can also go for his judgment, for getting his proper judgment to the High Court. So here we have High Court of India, which is in Delhi, okay, right? And a picture has been given that how the judicial system works. The police can catch the thief, then the FIR has been registered, then there is a case which has been conducted, then the case takes place in the court. When the courts declare that yes, this man is guilty, then there is a special court that is okay, he's been arrested under law so and so, and then the police takes that criminal to the jail again. So this is how the judicial system was being worked in East India Company. But for Indians there were different rules, and for the English peoples there were different rules. Now why it is so? Because equality before law, though it was said that law was equal for everyone, but during the British rule there was no equality before law. There was difference in the judgment on the basis of casteism. Casteism means during India, if you know the medieval Indian, the ancient Indian, caste system privilege in India, okay. So they were Shastriyas, they were Shudras, okay, they were Mahars. So people were being categorized according to their work and according to their caste. Now, Lord Macaulay, who was then an officer, he set up a committee to create the code of law. Create a code of law means he was appointed to look after the law and order, and he came up with the idea that for particular, suppose this particular thing is done, then what punishment should be given? If the Indian person fails to pay the tax on time, what punishment should be given to that farmer or to that peasant? Or if a person is caught doing robbery, what punishment should be given to it? If he is an Indian, then whether he is from a higher society or a lower society, that was taken into consideration. If he is an Englishman, then what punishment should be given? Jails for the English peoples were different. Jails for the Indians were also different. So there was no equality in front of law. There were separate codes and different laws for the Europeans and the Indians. Okay. Next, moving ahead, economic policies of the British. Now, what were the economic policies? I have given some pictures over here. What were the economic policies? Since ancient time, there were insurgents in India. Insurgents means the Mughals, the Turkish, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, the British, the Arabs. All of them, they came to India for trading purpose. Okay. So, many invaders settled in India and were absorbed in the Indian culture. Even though they ruled here, they never made any changes in the basic Indian economic system. The British were on expectation, except they were completely different. The Britishers, they came to India for trading, but slowly they started conquering the Indian territories and they started establishing their own colonies. England was a modern nation due to industrial revolution, capitalist economic privilege. Hence, they inculcated an economic system in India which was conducive to economic system in England, and due to this the Britishers gained economic benefit, but the India started facing economic exploitation. As you can see, the farmers, the peasants, the Indian artisans, they were being made to work, but the prices for their hard work was not being paid. Farmers used to grow crops, but after selling the crops, the profitable margin which they used to get was very less compared to the other Britishers' goods, right? Britishers used to exploit the Indian peasants, the Indian farmers and the Indian artisans. British, because they had money, they had wealth, they had knowledge, they had power. Economic policy of Britishers were very high. They already had started with industrial revolution. Industries had already set up in British. Now they started bringing the industries in India. So what happened? The Indian artists who were making handmade things, and on the other hand, England who had factory made things. There was a vast difference between these things, and so the economic gain which was there was more on the Britishers side than compared to the Indian side. Now, not only that, but the Britishers also came up with another new policy, and that was the land revenue policy. Now, what was land revenue policy? Before the British rule, the village economic system was self-sufficient. Self-sufficient means the farmers used to grow the crops, whatever was needed for their family and the village and the society they used to keep, and the extra things were being sold in the market. Everything was being, everything was there in their hands. Whether it was crops or milks or food grains or clothes, everything was in surplus. Okay, they had a lot of things. But because of Britishers and because of the new policies of Britishers, what happened? Through agriculture and related services, the needs of village were fulfilled in the village itself. Land revenue was the main source of income of the state. During the pre-British period, that is before Britishers entered into India, revenue, that is taxes, was based on the type of crop cultivated. How you cultivate. If more crops are cultivated, profit margin is more. Accordingly, the taxes were being paid. The farmers were expected from taxation in case of loss of crops. That means if by case due to famine or due to drought or due to some insecticide, if the crops were destroyed, the ruler at that time or the king or whoever was in the possession at that time, he used to tell them to not to pay the taxes. But when Britishers came into India, what happened? The Britishers made important changes in the revenue system. The land was measured as per the area of the land, and the farmer had to pay the tax accordingly. There was a compulsory payment of tax. Lands were measured. If the farmer was not being able to pay the tax on time, then his land was confiscated. Confiscated means it was taken by the British government. Here we end with part 2. We'll continue with part 3.